Welcome back, Cowboys Nation. It's training camp season in Frisco, and the pads are popping, the buzz is growing, and the battle for roster spots is heating up fast. Every year, this is where the real stories start to unfold, where legends take shape, where sleepers wake up, and where coaches decide who's ready for the spotlight. And this year, 5 names are starting to stir the pot in a big way. Whether it's electric returner KaVontae Turpin trying to prove he's more than just a special teams ace, rookie quarterback Joe Milton slinging missiles in practice, CeeDee Lamb reminding everyone he's the alpha, or even George Pickens bringing that bold swagger from Pittsburgh to Dallas, it's all happening, and it's all being closely watched. So let's break down the 5 biggest takeaways so far from Cowboys Training Camp, and why these developments could shake up the season before Week 1 even kicks off. The first big takeaway is KaVontae Turpin turning heads as more than just a return man. For 2 years now, Turpin has dazzled Cowboys fans with his incredible speed and agility on special teams. But let's be honest, most of us viewed him as a luxury piece, someone you throw back there to get a big return, maybe steal a touchdown once or twice a season. That narrative, however, is changing fast. Turpin is showing in camp that he's dead serious about becoming a bigger part of the offense. During red zone drills, he's been a nightmare for linebackers and safeties alike, weaving in and out of traffic with his blazing speed and sharp cuts. He's taking reps out of the slot, getting involved in jet sweeps, and even lining up wide in certain formations. The coaching staff is clearly experimenting with ways to get the ball in his hands more often. And the most impressive part? He's not just relying on his speed anymore. His route running has taken a noticeable leap forward. He's sharper in and out of breaks, he's showing more patience when finding holes in zone coverage, and he's developing chemistry with the quarterbacks, especially Joe Milton, who we'll get to in a moment. If Turpin continues this pace, the Cowboys might have finally found their true gadget weapon, someone in the mold of a Tyreek Hill light who can shift momentum at any moment. Now, speaking of Joe Milton, let's get into the second major takeaway. Milton might be further along than anyone expected. When the Cowboys picked up the former Tennessee quarterback, the immediate buzz was all about his arm strength, and for good reason. The guy has a cannon. He can flick his wrist and send the ball 70 yards downfield without even breaking a sweat. But raw arm talent alone doesn't get you a job in the NFL. What's turned heads in camp is that Milton is starting to put it all together. He's showing touch on intermediate throws, making smarter reads, and actually commanding the offense with surprising poise. There was one particular 2-minute drill earlier this week where Milton marched the second-team offense down the field with surgical precision, dropping in a perfect corner route to Jalen Tolbert, escaping pressure and hitting Turpin on a crosser, and capping the drive with a bullet to the back of the end zone that had fans and coaches clapping. The buzz inside the facility is that Milton is pushing Cooper Rush for that QB2 spot, and if his trajectory keeps climbing, the Cowboys might have to make a very tough decision. This could be the first year in a long time where the quarterback depth chart isn't as straightforward as we thought. Third on the list of takeaways is what we're seeing from CeeDee Lamb, and in a word, it's dominance. There's no question Lamb is the W-Rone, but what we're seeing in training camp is a receiver who's not just great, but determined to be elite. Every rep, every route, every catch, CeeDee is operating like a man possessed. He's torching top cornerbacks in one-on-ones, he's snatching contested balls out of the air like it's nothing, and his footwork at the line of scrimmage is absolutely devastating. And perhaps the most impressive thing is his leadership. Younger receivers are flocking to him between reps, watching his technique, asking questions, and soaking in every ounce of knowledge they can get. Lamb has transformed into the vocal leader of this receiver group, even giving sideline advice to George Pickens, who is trying to get comfortable in his new environment. It's clear CeeDee isn't just trying to get another 1,000-yard season, he wants to be known as the best receiver in the league. And if his training camp performance is any indication, he's well on his way to that goal. Now let's pivot to the fourth major storyline, The George Pickens experiment is getting spicy. When Pickens arrived in Dallas, it was viewed as a low-risk, high-reward kind of addition. But from what we've seen so far in camp, Pickens is not here to play a supporting role. He wants to make noise, and he's already making it. Known for his contested catch ability and bold trash talk, Pickens has brought that same attitude to Cowboys camp. He's not shying away from anyone. In fact, he's looking for the toughest matchups possible. Earlier this week, he squared up against Trayvon Diggs in back-to-back reps and won both. One was a jump ball over the middle, the other a toe drag on the sideline that had the crowd erupting. His physicality is adding a different flavor to this Cowboys receiving core, and the chemistry he's developing with Joe Milton is turning heads. Pickens might not be starting right away, but if he keeps stacking practices like this, it's going to be very hard for Mike McCarthy to keep him off the field. This could be the sleeper move of the offseason that turns into a major steal. And finally, the fifth major takeaway from camp: this team's chemistry and energy are at an all-time high. When you walk into training camp, you can usually tell within minutes whether the vibes are good or off. This year, it's electric. Guys are flying around with energy, pushing each other in healthy competition, and celebrating the small wins together. Whether it's offensive linemen cheering on Milton after a tight window throw, or veterans like Zach Martin mentoring rookies during water breaks, it's clear that this team is unified in a way that feels very different from past seasons. Even the defense, led by Micah Parsons, is practicing with a chip on its shoulder, barking at the offense after every play and making sure nobody lets up for even a second. But the beautiful part? It's not toxic, it's competitive. Iron is sharpening iron. And when you add in the individual breakouts, Turpin's evolution, Milton's maturity, Lamb's dominance, Pickens' hunger, you start to realize that this might be the most balanced and explosive Cowboys team we've seen in years. Now let's zoom out and consider what these 5 takeaways mean moving forward. Starting with KaVontae Turpin, if the Cowboys truly commit to integrating him into the offensive game plan beyond special teams, defenses will have to account for his speed every single snap. That opens up opportunities for CeeDee, for Pollard, and for tight ends across the middle. Think about the ripple effect. Turpin in motion draws a safety's attention. Boom, Lamb hits the seam. Turpin runs a wheel route from the slot. That linebacker is toast. He's a matchup nightmare waiting to happen, and the sooner the Cowboys start exploiting that, the better. As for Joe Milton, it's about more than just a backup quarterback battle. It's about insurance, upside, and the future. If something were to happen to Dak Prescott, would you rather roll out a steady but limited option like Cooper Rush or a wild card like Milton, who can stretch the field vertically and bring defenses to their knees with raw talent? If Milton keeps improving, he gives the Cowboys something they haven't had in years: a real developmental quarterback with starter-level upside. That's a huge asset in today's NFL. And with CeeDee Lamb, the story goes beyond just production. He's entering that elite phase where you don't just catch passes, you tilt the entire defense. Every time he lines up, he commands double coverage, and that opens up the entire offense. His leadership, his drive, and his consistency are setting the tone for the entire wide receiver group and maybe even the entire offense. George Pickens, meanwhile, is the wild card. He's unpredictable, physical, and plays with an edge. If he and the coaching staff can stay on the same page, he might become the perfect X factor, someone who can win on the outside, fight for tough yards, and bring an intensity that energizes the whole team. He doesn't just make catches, he makes statements. And this team could use a little bit of that bite. And then there's the chemistry. The intangible glue that makes great teams championship caliber. Every position group seems locked in. The vibe is competitive but positive. The coaching staff is energized, and the players are feeding off each other. That kind of unity doesn't always show up in stats or headlines, but it's exactly what separates playoff teams from championship contenders. So as training camp continues to unfold, keep your eyes on these 5 stories. Because whether it's Turpin breaking out as a weapon, Milton climbing the depth chart, Lamb going supernova, Pickens shaking things up, or the entire team moving in lockstep, these aren't just camp flashes. These are signs of something bigger brewing in Dallas. Something special. Something that might just carry this team deep into January and beyond. Thanks for watching, Cowboys Nation. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more in-depth updates, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Who's impressing you most in camp? Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay locked in, and as always, go Cowboys!